Hi guys, this is NUSensei. Today we're going to be covering the topic of stance in archery. Stance is the foundation of the shot. Not only does it provide stability and comfort, but many problems in the shot process can be caused by incorrect stance. Stance should be one of the first things that a beginner learns. First-time shooters generally acquire a sense of a good stance fairly quickly, although some people, especially those who are shy or lack confidence, may be very casual on the shooting line. They might find themselves standing like this, hold the bow like this, and just not really paying attention to what a good stance should be. But most people do acquire a natural, strong stance. So what is a good stance? In general, a good stance involves the feet being shoulder width apart with equal balance on each foot. Attention should also be given to posture so that the back is straight and the archer is not leaning back or forward. In terms of feet positioning, the most common method taught to beginners is a square stance. The archer places one foot on either side of the shooting line, standing perpendicular to the target with the imaginary line over the toes, creating a square angle with the shooting line. The second common stance is the open stance. In an open stance, the front foot is placed at a diagonal, so that the archer opens their body towards the target, typically at around 30 degrees, although this varies based on comfort and preference. Additionally, in particularly windy conditions, the archer may opt to open the stance even more for greater stability. Do note that attention must be paid to hip alignment. The hips should remain over the feet so that you do not twist your body around. If you're using an open stance and you twist your hips, you are effectively using a square stance, albeit with more tension in your body. By far the most common question in this case is which is better, the square stance or the open stance? When making this personal judgment, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is how comfortable and stable you are. The second is how consistent you are with your balance and foot placement. The square stance is popular because it's very easy to learn. A lot of places teach a square stance as standard because all you have to do is put one foot on either side of the line and there's your stance. It's very easy to replicate. The open stance is generally more popular. I'd say the majority of archers will use an open stance. And this is because the open stance is more stable, more comfortable, and more natural. The open stance is used for a lot of things, from combat and martial arts, to snooker, to rifle shooting, and of course archery. It's the stance which most people acquire naturally without being told what to do. It's just the way people stand when they're having a conversation, when they're participating in a sport, when bracing for something. It's just a stronger stance in general. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that everybody should use it. And you see even at the top level, at the Olympic Games, many archers will simply stick with a square stance because it's just easy to do. Just line up and shoot. It might not be as strong, but the person shooting might not need that extra stability or comfort. They might find that the square stance works fine. But for many people, the open stance is preferred stance because there's more power, there's more engagement in the muscles, they feel more comfortable with their alignment and balance. All these reasons might be factors in which stance you choose. Now we've covered an open stance, a square stance. What about the closed stance? Now the closed stance is generally not taught as a shooting stance. You can shoot from a closed stance, but there are problems with this. Now with an open stance, you have stability, you have the ability to engage your core and your back muscles to get a nice shot. With a square stance, you've got a nice, natural, easy alignment, which is very consistent. With a closed stance, you have none of these. You're angled away from the target. You have to turn and twist your torso to shoot onto the target. This is an unnatural twist. It's not good for your your lower back muscles or your core muscles. It doesn't really help you shoot straight. So while you can do it, it's the least effective stance. It's not something I recommend. Another determining factor is string clearance. With a closed stance or a square stance, you may find that the string is too close to your body. This may affect you by hitting body parts which shouldn't be hit or clothing that gets in the way. An open stance gives you more string clearance, giving the ability to shoot and get good groupings without worrying too much about the string coming across your chest or your clothing. And now for some common problems. One thing you might find is the spacing of your feet. Now, some people will naturally shoot with feet far too close together, which is actually not very stable. The second problem is when they're far too wide. And you often see kids, like young kids, doing this. They'll think, okay, open your feet out. That's a little too wide. You don't have to do splits to do archery. Now, the way we often teach people is this, okay? You stand like this, you shuffle your feet once, twice, and there you go. That's a perfect width. That's great. It's very fun, especially for young people. Once, twice, there. That's your stance. It's about shoulder width apart. It's very easy to teach the people this way. Another problem is having rigid legs. Some people have a tendency to lock their knees in place. Now it looks like this. So you're shooting and your knees are locked in. And but by locking in, you have no flexibility. There's no relaxation in your legs. It's all tense. And you walk around with legs like wooden planks. It looks really silly. But the problem is that there's so much tension in your legs, your muscles are under tension. It's actually unstable to do this. So learn to relax your legs. You don't have to be locked in and fully rigid. You can be a bit more natural. And what you find is many people will start to relax their legs. They kind of shake their legs. They kind of go up and down a bit on the line. Just to remember to relax those leg muscles. So the stance should be fairly natural and not locked into place. The next problem is leaning. Some people lean too far forward, some lean too far backwards. Now, the people who lean forward tend to reach towards the target, they're stretching out, and the back foot lifts off the ground completely. So you see that this is the normal stance. They lean forward, they're on their toes on the back foot, and it comes off the ground. This is a habit some people have. Most people, however, have a tendency to lean backwards, and that's seen in this way. You're holding the bow, the weight feels heavy, so you naturally lean backwards. And this is a very subtle thing for some people, but it's more pronounced in others. Now, it's actually quite hard to stand straight. You understand that a straight stance means your head and shoulders are above your feet. That's what it should be. But in the course of shooting, some people just forget their focus on the weight of the bow, which means that you might lean forward or back. What we often tell people is, naturally, since you lean backwards, put more weight on your front foot. This doesn't mean that you are leaning forwards. What it does mean is that you will naturally come into a balanced stance if you put more focus on your front foot. Now again, this doesn't mean lean forward. What it does mean is that you are naturally thinking you are leaning forward, but you aren't. You're actually perfectly straight, in line and balanced. So sometimes you have to psychologically compensate for what you think might be an error, but most people inherently lean backwards. Another problem is weight distribution. This has to do with balance and which part of your feet carries most of the weight. Now let's say this is a foot. The ideal distribution is around 60 to 70% of your body weight should be on the balls of your feet in this part of your foot. That will hold most of the weight, so you slightly incline forwards. The rear of the foot should only carry between 30 to 40% of your body weight. And this has some really pronounced effects. If this balance is not right, it can cause some serious alignment problems and form problems which you may not realize. Now what happens when you put too much weight on the back of your foot or your heels is this. Alright, and what you might see here is I'm leaning backwards and I'm arching my back. Both of these are very bad form faults. Your muscles are out of alignment, your shots won't be as powerful, your muscle engagement is much weaker, and it's just less stable. It's more fatiguing and you don't shoot anywhere near as well. Unfortunately, when you get tired and fatigued throughout the day, these are the things which will slip. Now, one thing you can do to help remind you to shoot with proper balance is to grip the ground with your toes. By doing this, by using your toes and feeling the pressure on your toes, you will naturally begin to acquire proper balance, where you're putting the weight back on the front of your feet where you're more stable. So just by gripping the ground with my toes, it looks like this. And that feels right. It feels, my back is straight, I can get my shoulders in alignment, my hips in the correct alignment, and these things can be practiced. You can practice it in the shower, you can practice it warming up, when you're off the line, you're waiting for people. Just remember to wriggle your toes, shake your knees, and that way you get the right tension in your legs, the right amount of weight balance on your feet, and that leads to good, stable positioning and stance. Of course, this is all fine and easy when you're shooting in standard conditions at a target range when you have flat ground. But if you're shooting the field where you have obstacles, you have to shoot from uneven surfaces, or you have to kneel when you're undercover, these things will of course change the way you stand. Now for that, all I can say is keep in mind your hips are a big determining factor. Whatever stance you use, your hip alignment determines your positioning, that helps your shoulder alignment, and that helps your shot. So even though you might be shooting from a crouched position, the fundamentals are still there. This is NUSensei, hope this is helpful. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.